Hey yo guys, what's up and welcome back to Two Toe Tags Metal Reviews, and today we're getting our first impressions of the album by Reality Grey titled Beneath This Crown. So Reality Grey, some of you might be asking, who the hell is Reality Grey? I've never heard of Reality Grey. Well, we've never heard of this band either. Before recently, one of their publishers or promoters or whatever contacted us and said, hey, we got this band, would you check this out, blah, blah, blah. They sent us some merch. It's pretty cool stuff. So we're like, yeah, sure, we'll check them out. We'll do a review on the channel. Why not, right? So this album dropped actually in May. So we're a little late to the party, but whatever.
Still pretty new.
May 7th. Did a little bit of reading on the band. They started in the mid-2000s, 2004, I think. They're from Italy, melodic death metal. We have not listened to anything from this band. They describe themselves as being melodic and brutal, which can mean a lot of things to a lot of different people. Depends how you interpret it. But yeah, we're pretty much going in blind here. And as usual, I'm just hoping I fucking love this because I always want to get new bands on my playlist, and there's potential here. So unless you have anything to say,
Nope.
we're going to listen to Beneath This Crown for the first time in its entirety, and we'll be back to give you guys our first impressions, so stay put. Alright guys, we're back. We just listened to Beneath This Crown in its entirety. And I gotta say that I like the album, but I feel like it's not without some criticisms. Again, just to put this out there first and foremost, this is a first impressions we listened to at one time. We're going to listen to the album as much as we can throughout the week to develop our full opinions before we make a review. So take our words this time with grains of salt, as you guys know this already. So the album starts off strong, okay? It's got this very mood-setting kind of, intro tracks, like under 2 minutes long, just kind of setting the mood for the album. I like it, I dig it. It does what it does.
It gets pretty hype in like the second half of like that intro. Like
Yeah.
it starts out pretty cool
Builds
and
and
then
builds.
and it's
Yeah.
it's a good intro track.
Exactly. Then the real album kicks in with Fade in Fear, which is track number 2. So right out the gate, I'm getting vibes. I'm getting, I'm drawing parallels to things that I'm familiar with. In Flames, At the Gates, Cataclysm, Amon Amarth, just a lot of melodic death metal bands. But they do got their own kind of flavor thrown in here. What is that flavor? Not exactly sure what it is. There's different elements that they have. A lot of elements are very similar to the bands I just listed and other bands, but I'm pretty sure, and I could be my ears playing tricks on me, maybe I just don't know exactly what I'm talking about, I will admit that, but I'm pretty sure this is tuned a little lower than a lot of those bands. I feel like this is probably, and again, I'm not a guitar player and I don't know exactly what I'm talking about, but I'm pretty sure this is tuned at like a drop B maybe. I'm pretty sure bands like In Flames, and similar bands play more like in a drop A, so it's like just tuned a bit lower than that. At least that's what it sounds like to my ear. Could be wrong, maybe if you know in the comments, correct me. But it sounded more mean, it sounded more aggressive, and that was making me appreciate it more. So another thing that I was actually liking was high tempo. High tempo was another thing. So it sounds a lot like these bands, but it felt like it was faster and meaner. Both cool things. So we get this for the first several songs. So track 2, 3, 4, and 5 all kind of had this frantic, aggressive, mean-sounding, melodic death metal vibe to them. I'm all for it. Really cool. Then track number 6 comes along. It's called Power Blast. So what am I expecting from Power Blast? I'm expecting
A powerful blast.
a powerful blast. I made a joke. Is this song going to start with a blast beat? Well, it doesn't. This song had me losing interest in the album. Okay, I was invested until this point. Then this song comes on, and I kind of just, my mind started wandering. And again, I don't know exactly why that is, but that's not my fault. The album lost my interest. So I don't know when you lost interest. After that, it was kind of, there was high parts, but after that, the whole album was kind of on this average plane where I was just not that impressed, and I was having a hard time really focusing on stuff that I was enjoying, but I wasn't hating it. I was still grooving along with it. I was still enjoying it. It was still, good vibes, good tunes. But the second half of the album compared to the first 5 tracks, it was almost a night and day shift for me.
Well, I kind of felt similar to you, whereas like the first chunk of the album was pretty strong, and then I kind of also felt that dip with Power Blast. But the reasoning for myself is that with Power Blast onward, I started to find a lot of tracks that didn't really feel very remarkable. I kind of found there were some songs where I didn't really know what to write, because it's like, well, this is good, it's a well-made song, well-performed, good, but there wasn't really anything notable about them. They just kind of felt pretty just straightforward and basic, where other tracks had things about them that stood out and were interesting and kind of grabbed me. One example is Preachers of Hatred, track number 4, one of my highest rated tracks.
Same.
Very frantic. I really like the hook. It gets really crazy, and I love, and it's near the beginning of the song, the drum groove, and he's just kind of just throwing out like his ride belt just a little bit. Check it out. So you see what I mean? Just that tiny little like spice that he's just throwing out there, and it's really nice. I love when drummers do that.
Yeah.
You were saying it sounded like a lot of these bands, but faster and deeper, whatever. I found a comparison to Lamb of God personally, but deeper tuning. I mean, I'm not a guitar player either. I am a drummer, so drummer brain. But it sounds deeper and also faster. That's for sure. I could tell. So it's like, like a Lamb of God, but more melodic, kind of deeper and faster. That sounds pretty cool. But yeah, after Power Blast, I started to get kind of moments of like, I don't really know what to write. However, later on in the album, track number 9, Dreaming. This one caught us both off guard because there's this female vocal that comes in, and it's really nice sounding, and the groove that's happening during these female vocals honestly remind me of Tesseract, and I love Tesseract, so getting those vibes, I'm like, yeah, this is sick. And I feel like that song really kind of spiked up a lot more of my interest because it was something different, something that I could make a note about, something that, really opened up to me. But like, I would say my lowest rated was the title track, just because it didn't really feel like it added much. However, I feel like it could have perhaps worked as the last song on the album. With kind of how it was concluding, I felt like it was a nice conclusive track.
Yeah.
So you could have made it work as the last track. But other than that, like, I didn't really find much about it that was remarkable. However, overall, it's a good album, and I enjoyed it. It kind of felt like it stagnated a little, but it's still well performed. It's, got really good riffs. It's one of those albums, and I figure by extension this is one of those bands that really centers around having enjoyable riffs. And even in the songs that didn't feel as notable, I still thought, okay, the riff is good.
Yeah.
It's kind of one of those things where it's like you can write a similar note for every song where it's like, yeah, that's a cool riff, this one's cool, that one's cool.
Yeah. You mentioned Dreaming a second ago, and I gotta say that as far as the second half of the album goes, that's definitely the highlight for the second half. You said female vocal, and I do agree, but I sat there questioning myself whether this is not just a high male vocal. Like when you hear certain bands like Frozen Crown, for example, hear how high that male vocalist can go. He almost sounds like a female. And I was sitting there wondering, is this just a high male vocal? I think it is female. No, don't get me wrong.
As the song went, I kind of felt, okay, I think this is a female vocal, but yeah, who knows?
But
you don't hear something like that on the rest of the album. So.
It stands out, and there was no extra credit given. Usually it's like a song title featuring blah, blah, blah. It just didn't say that. So we really had no point of reference other than, hey, what the heck is this? This comes out of nowhere. But in that song, and actually in a few songs, they do some groove sections, which is also cool. But there's one particular one in this song that I thought was pretty cool, so I'm going to play it for you guys. So yeah, I thought that was really cool, and like I said, things like this are kind of sprinkled through the album. But going back to the vocals a little bit, there's also a little bit of vocal diversity throughout the album too. So like on the first song that comes in, so Fade and Fear, There's the harsh vocals, which is the main vocal throughout the album, but there's also cleans during the choruses. I said, okay, this is going to be one of those bands, harsh verses, clean choruses. Well, that's not always the case, and that to me is refreshing, because I don't like when bands do it every single time. So the clean vocals come here and there throughout the album. Like there's 3 or 4 songs, I think, that have clean vocals on them. The rest is mainly harsh, other than Dreaming, which has this random female vocal on it, also married with harsh vocals. So you get this duality, this diversity of sound, which sounds really good to our ears. Another thing I want to touch on before we kind of wrap this up, because I think we've kind of said a bunch already, is guitar solos. So anybody that likes guitar solos, you'll find them on this album. Are they amazingly, mind-blowingly magnificent? No, they're not. At least not to me. There's 1 or 2 that I went, whoa, these are really cool. Let me find the song that has the best one. Actually, Reascent, track number 10, again on the second half of the album. Surprise, surprise, has the best guitar solo on the album. Not to say the others are bad, but I felt like they were a little bit too short. I felt like, and that's a criticism I have with guitar solos all the time, I just want them to be longer. But sometimes when you get into this vibe and you're listening, you know the solo's coming, and they set it up and they deliver it, and you feel like it could have went on for another, bar or so, it feels like you get robbed a little bit. And I'm like, come on, you could have went a little longer with that. Would have made it so much better. A good example of that is track number 2, which I've mentioned several times already. But the way the solo happens in this song, it's kind of broken up. So like a chunk of the solo happens, then it goes back to this rhythmic section, then a chunk of the solo happens again, then it goes back to the rhythmic section. And then I was expecting the solo to come out and kind of finish off, and it didn't. It felt incomplete. And I was like, you fucking ruined it. But the section that was there was really cool. I guess I gotta appreciate what they gave me and not be so greedy. But overall, I enjoyed the album. I think throughout the week listening to it, I'll find more substance in the second half. Mm-hmm. At least I'm hoping we will.
It is a fairly long album, so it's really easy to get burned out just kind of from just hyper focusing on it.
That's very true.
It's pushing close to an hour, like I think 56 or so minutes.
Yeah, it's a 57 and change, I think, but you make a good point. It's definitely, the fatigue factor definitely plays a role. But it is what it is. We're going to listen to the album as much as we possibly can throughout the week. We're going to develop our opinions for our review in a week's time when we come back and check out Beneath This Crown for our final review. But that's it for this video, guys. Be sure to listen to this album, check it out, and leave a comment down below and let us know what you guys think after your first impressions. Comment down below, subscribe if you guys are new to the channel. I'm Vile Self.
I'm TV Fish.
We'll see you guys on the next one. Keep those heads banging.